Hello and welcome back. In our last video, we successfully pushed our local code to GitHub, taking our project online. Now that's a huge milestone. But what happens when you're working in a team or you have made changes directly on GitHub and you need to bring those updates back to your local machine? Today, we are diving into the essential commands for getting changes from your remote repository, Git fetch, and Git pull. We will understand the key difference between them and learn how to keep your local project perfectly in sync. Let's make sure your code is always up to date. So, we will explore these two critical commands for syncing with your remote repositories. So, first, let's talk about the git fetch command. Now, how do you download changes from the remote without immediately integrating them into your local work? So, you just want to know what all the latest changes that are there in the remote without downloading them to your local repository. That's where we can make use of the git fetch command. Then you have the git pull command. So this command is commonly used to both download and integrate remote changes into your current local branch. So this will tell what all new changes you have, and also it will download it and merge it with your local repository. I will illustrate this with a practical example showing you exactly how to pull changes inside made directly on your GitHub. So first, let's talk about understand your git fetch command, which is only downloading the changes, no integration. So think of your git fetch as a way to peek at what's new on the remote without actually bringing those changes into your local repository. Now this will download the latest commits and updates from the remote repository to your local Git repository, but it keeps those changes separate from your active work. Now, why would you want to do this? One is for preview. So you can see what changes have made on the remote. Now this can be useful for checking if others have pushed new work or if changes have been made directly on the GitHub. The second is for safety. So it's a non-destructive operation. It won't modify your local working directory or your current branch. You can review the changes before deciding to merge them with your local repository. Now to demonstrate git fetch, let's make a change directly on our GitHub repository, simulating a change made by a collaborator or yourself via the web interface. So here I'll go to my solo, this particular project, and we'll open up the readme.md file and we will edit this. So here you can see this pencil icon, we will click on that and we will add a new line, let's say over here. So let's say this project is online, right? And then I will commit these changes directly on GitHub. Now let's go back to our local terminal. Now here, this is my local machine where I have my Git repository. And if I run the git status command, it still says your branch is up to date. You can see it says there are no changes. Why? Because our local git does not know about the remote change yet. So what are the changes we have done here? My local repository does not know about that. So now let's fetch those changes. So we can run this git fetch origin. Now look at the output. Git says it's counting objects and fetched from the origin. It indicates that origin slash main has been updated. Now if I run the git status command once again, git now tells us your branch is behind origin slash main by one commit. This means git knows there's a new commit on the remote repository, but it hasn't applied it to our local main branch yet. Our working directory files are still unchanged. Now, this is the power of git fetch. It updates your local tracking branches, giving you intelligence about the remote without touching your current work. So if I look at the readme file over here, let's see, yeah, so let's read this. So you can say I don't have the changes that I have made in the GitHub. However, it says that, hey, There is a new change in the GitHub repo, but it does not touch our local work. You can even run this git log origin slash main command, and you can see that the new commit is here before merging your changes. So that's your git fetch command. So at any point, if you want to know if there are any changes in the central repository, you can make use of the git fetch command without merging those changes in your local repository. Now let's talk about the next command, which is your git pull command. Now this is the command you will likely use most often for getting your updates. Git pull is essentially a combination of two operations, your git fetch followed by your git merge or git rebase. When you run git pull, Git will first fetch the latest changes from the remote, and then it attempts to integrate those changes in your current local repository. So the git fetch part will download the new commits and update the remote tracking branches. The git merge part will integrate those downloaded changes into your current local branch. If the history is linear, it performs a fast forward merge. If there are diverging histories, it creates a merge commit. We have already fetched, and Git knows our local main is behind origin slash main. Now let's pull those changes in. And for that, we will run this command git pull origin main. When I run this command, you will see output indicating Git is updating your branch and performing a fast forward merge. So you can see here it says fast forward this file name. There are two insertions. You can see one file change and two insertions. Now, if you check the README file, you should be able to see the changes that we made on GitHub has now been brought down and applied. And now if I run the git status command once again, or if I run git status origin slash main, you can see your branch is up to date, nothing to commit, working tree is clean. So Git now confirms that your branch is up to date. Your local and remote repositories are perfectly synchronized. So once again, Git fetch can be used when you just want to know if there are any new changes in the remote repository. Git pull can be used when you want to download those new changes and merge it with your local repository. Now let's talk about when to use git pull and git fetch. So use git pull when you want to immediately update your current branch with the latest changes from the remote. Now this is your everyday sync command. And use the git fetch when you want to inspect any new changes on the remote before integrating them, or when you're on a different branch and just want to update your remote tracking references. Think of it as a read only sync. So we have just unlocked a critical part of collaborative development. We have understood the difference between git fetch, which is to download remote changes without modifying your working directory or current branch, and git pull, which is to download changes and then integrate them into your current local branch. Now, mastering these commands ensures you're always working with the most up-to-date code base, whether you're coding from a bustling co-working space or collaborating with a remote team across continents. In the next video, we are going to deep dive into the exciting world of cloning existing projects from GitHub and making your first contribution to an existing open source project. If you have successfully pulled these changes, give yourself a huge pat on the back. Hit that like button and let me know in the comments if you prefer git pull or git fetch. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.